I've had my dinner. I had beef stew with carrots and potatoes, coleslaw, and a small skillet of cornbread. And I'm telling you, that's a good meal. That's a really good meal. So I thought I need to do a story. I couldn't think of anything, and it's rained all day long. You know what kind of mood the rain can put you into, and I got to looking around thinking, all I've done is mess and gum for the last few days. Now, if you don't know what mess and gum is, if you're my age, you know, because your mother probably said the same thing to you she said to me, if you don't stop that messing and gumming. And that's more or less what I've done the last 2 or 3 days. Haven't accomplished much. I did set a dining table for the beautiful table settings. I thought it was my turn to show them some pictures, so I did, and I got beautiful responses. People are very nice. And then, let's see what, today I was playing with my computer, with my iPad, trying to fix this, trying to fix that. Every time I start trying to fix something, I usually mess it up. I've been after Jan for several days. You've got to come and help me. You've got to straighten this out for me. I can't figure it out. Well, she'd get here. She's a pretty busy girl. So this afternoon she showed up. And I'm going to tell you this. When she got through fixing the list of things that I needed doing or done on my iPad, I got to thinking, when I walked into that hospital 67 years ago to deliver that little baby girl with a big full head of hair, I never dreamed she was going to be so useful. She's smart. She figured out everything I had, and she'd just go click, 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 click. There it was. What's next? Click, click, click. I said, how do you know where to go, what to do? Well, all you have to do is this, and all you have to do is that. And I'm thinking, goodness gracious, and I'm supposed to remember what she says? Even when I write it down, I can't remember where I wrote it. But she got all my problems taken care of today. And I'm telling you, she's smart. I didn't think I could have one that was smart and pretty too. One or the other. But I got a combination. So, now I'm here to tell you a little story. It's not anything fantastic, and in fact it may run a little longer than it should. But if you've got nothing better to do, get you something to drink and cut you a piece of that pecan pie left from Thanksgiving and just sit and put up with me for a few minutes. Now first, I got to remind you, December already. You're starting to think about Christmas gifts and where you're going to shop and how much money you're going to spend. So I'm going to remind you, I've still got my books. And some of you haven't bought one yet. This was the first one. Wait till you hear this one. It's got 100 short stories in it. And they'll hold your interest. I guarantee that. In fact, you won't get bored because each story is like 2 to 4 pages long. That gives you enough time to take your book with you to the reading room. And you know where the reading room is. And you can get a complete story read before you finish your business. I've done it several times. So this one, wait till you hear this one. It was the first book I did. Now, I've got 3 books, and if you can only buy one, buy this one first. I like it best. Well, usually you do like the first one best. So the second book, I don't know why in the world Jan talked me into putting these pictures on the front of this book. Look at my hair. That's pretty pathetic. And I'm wearing that same jacket today that I wore 5 years ago. Everywhere I go to, walk out the door, I've got on this jacket. I guess you know what I'm talking about. We all have clothes like that we just can't part with, and we just find it so convenient to just grab it and go. Hold it, Lord, hold it. I'm not finished yet. Now, if you don't know what that means, just consider how old I am. Soon be 88. Might as well start counting the days and months now. Which means I don't have much time left. So you got to give me time to write another book. I wrote the other book. It's just a continuation of the first one. This one has 73 stories in it. Every one of them just as good as the first book. So if you really like the first book, you're going to say, I really ought to order the second book too. Yeah, I think you should too. Okay, and you can get it from Amazon, and some have bought it from Barnes & Noble, and you won't have any problem. This book will come to you in the mail in about 3 days, really quick. So keep that in mind. Now, of course, you want to know what the third book is. Most of you already know, but those of you that are fairly new with my YouTube channel, this is the third one. I've had several people on YouTube to advertise this. Santa Claus advertised this book for me. I'm telling you, I didn't have to do a thing to persuade him to talk about my book and to convince you that you should have this book. Oh, he's terrific. He's a terrific salesman, let me tell you. So, this book is called Make Mine the Blue Plate Special. Now, it would take me too long to tell you what that means. Many of you that are my age already know what it means, but the rest of you are younger. You won't know what it means until you get inside the front page of the book, and I describe what that means. So make sure this is on your Christmas list too. This is usually the one that most people try to get because it's got recipes. But I'm just kind of partial to wait till you hear this one. And you know, the editor that helped me with that book, I was a little scared when I went to him because I thought, oh, he's so educated and he's written books, and I've never written a book before. I don't know the first thing about doing it. But when I showed him the draft and everything, and Jan was with me, she was helping promote my book. And after he looked at it the first time and we got back together again, he paid me the best compliment I could ever have. He said, "You write like Irma Bombeck." Now, some of you younger people don't know who Irma Bombeck was, but she was a human interest lady. She just, off the top of her head, would come up with these little stories about her family. She'd talk about things like I talk about things. And when he paid me that compliment, I thought, in my world, it doesn't get any better than that, to be compared with Irma Bombeck. So that gave me confidence to write my books. Now, let's get to the story. I just graduated from high school. Didn't know what I was going to do. Didn't know if I was going to go to college. Didn't have a job. Had a boyfriend, and of course, you know what that meant. Are we going to get married? Well, Daddy made it clear to me that if I wanted to go to college, he would be glad to pay for my education. But if I was thinking about getting married, he wasn't giving me a dime. And I knew I was thinking about getting married. But anyway, I spent the rest of the summer, no money to spend. My friends had kind of scattered here and there, and oh gosh, what was I going to do? So it was getting fall, and you know, when you go downtown, all the stores are getting all the new materials in, the clothing and all that. So I went into a small dress shop called Daniel's Department Store. They had a very nice line of ladies' wear. I didn't have a dime to my name to spend. What was I doing in that store? Well, it doesn't hurt to look. So I started going through the dresses, and ooh, they were looking good. I kept looking and looking, and I'd pull one out, and I think, oh, I'd like to try that on. But why try it on if you're not going to be able to buy it? I kept looking, and then I pulled one out. I looked at that dress, and I said, this is the prettiest thing I've ever seen. Oh, I'd give anything to have this dress. It won't hurt to try it on. So I go back to the dressing room and I try it on. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I fit that dress real good back then. It looked good on me. I made it look really good. It was a black sheath, no sheath, it's a fitted dress all the way down. A black velveteen, sleeveless dress, little pearl neckline. Nothing fancy about the dress. It was form-fitting, and I looked right nice in it. But it had a jacket with it. Now, some of you may remember the Batwing bolero jacket. The little bolero came just below the bust, curved, and they had the Batwing sleeve, and the sleeves were 3/4 length. The jacket was red poodle cloth. Yeah, you know what poodle cloth is. Poodle cloth looked just like poodle dogs, real curly. And it had the layback lapels that were black velveteen. I just knew that was the prettiest dress in the world. I had to have that dress. How was I going to get it? I went home. Daddy was at home then. Nobody was there but Mama and Daddy and me. Now, Daddy never had any say or any doings when it came to the kids' clothing and whatever their needs were. Mama carried the pocketbook. Mama chose what we would wear. She paid for everything. Daddy never asked any questions. He wouldn't have known if we'd had it 6 years or if we just had it 6 days. That's how much attention he paid to the clothes that we wore. Of course, he wanted us to be clean and decent, dressed nice, and always on Sunday looking our best. But he didn't play any role in seeing that happened. So, he didn't know the price of anything. Why should he? He was interested in his work and in his car and in his reading and what have you. So he's sitting beside the window reading the newspaper, and I sat down in a chair and I said, Daddy, I want to talk to you about something. Well, he lowered that newspaper and, what is it, sis? Well, I really didn't know how to approach him. I'm going to ask Daddy if I can buy a new dress. Wasn't about to ask Mama because she'd say, no, we ain't got the money. That was her answer to everything when we wanted to buy something so we can't afford it. So I thought, I'll try Daddy. Nobody's here to argue with me. So I started telling him about my trip downtown and how I saw this beautiful dress, and I'd never been able to buy a dress because I liked the dress. I always had to look at the price tag first, which meant if it cost too much, I couldn't have the dress. So I never really got the dress I wanted when I was growing up shopping for clothes. But this time, oh, this dress was so pretty. I just had to have it. So I was taking a big chance by approaching Daddy. He sat there holding that newspaper and looking up over the top of it. He didn't say a word, but I could see the glisten in his eyes. I could see that faint grin of his mouth. I went through that long spiel of describing that pretty black velveteen dress with the red poodle jacket. And when I got finished, he just lowered his newspaper and he said, "How much is the dress, sis?" Ooh, that was the big question. I said, $21.95. You go in the kitchen and tell your mammy to write you out a check in the morning and you go get that dress. Yes, that's how my dad approached it. And the next morning I was there when the door of that store opened and I bought that dress. And I thought I was the prettiest thing in town. Now, we're going to go beyond that. Several years. Well, not that many years, only about 2 years. My sister and I both lived in Louisville then. By then I'm married. And she and her husband are living at the Baptist Seminary apartments. He is studying to be a Baptist minister. And while they're living there, he is pastoring a small country church. I don't know how far it was from Louisville. I'm going to guess within 30 miles. And they went every Sunday morning, every Sunday night. He would preach the sermons, but it was out in the country. And they always had to have dinner at one of the homes of somebody in the congregation. So the church had a schedule of who would take the preacher and his wife this Sunday and who would be scheduled next Sunday, and that's the way it went. So, being out in the country, those were big farms, and they were the big farmhouses, 2-story farmhouses. You can just picture it. Big white house, off to the distance is the barn. And you've got the big roundabout porch. It's a kind of house that I don't even know how much electricity they had, because I don't remember anything electric, because the house heated with coal stoves and, the pot-bellied stoves. And I wasn't in the kitchen, so I don't know how that was. But my sister said, because most of the houses did not have indoor plumbing, except for one family. They had sort of modernized. They had built a brick house, and they had indoor plumbing. And she said, we're scheduled to have dinner at their house this Sunday. Now, this is in the middle of winter. I'm talking about snow on the ground. She said, we will be eating at this couple's house, and I want you to go with us, because I'd never been with her to visit the little church and some of the members of the church. She said, because if you go with us this Sunday, we get to stay with them, and they've got indoor plumbing. That was what was important, especially in the middle of winter, and it's 20 and 30 degrees and snow on the ground. you don't really like going to an outhouse when the conditions are like that. And at the time, she had an 8-month-old baby. She had to take the baby too. She had to take care of his needs. Okay, we get there, and we're going to the church for the church service, and we learn that plans have changed. We would not be going to this couple's house for dinner. We were going to an older farm couple's house. Now, I don't know how to describe them except to say that what the couple with the pitchfork and the broom. Anyway, picture them in your mind, and that's kind of like this family was. There were the parents and a grandparent and a daughter, and they had prepared our dinner. We went to their house, and the heating was with a pot-bellied stove. My sister had to heat up the baby food for her baby on top of that pot-bellied stove. Now, these were very nice people, but they were very uncomfortable with us. I think you can picture the situation when a family's not used to entertaining and they've never been asked to especially entertain the preacher. Families always got nervous when they knew the preacher was coming to eat dinner with them. I remember that myself because my mother would get upset when Daddy'd bring the preacher home for dinner on Sunday. So anyway, we're in the house, and the mother and the daughter are in the kitchen preparing dinner. We couldn't see into the kitchen. There was a door, closed door, so it was like the kitchen and dining room were an attachment to the house. So we're in the main parlor, I suppose, waiting, and there wasn't much conversation because these people just didn't have much to say. We didn't know how much we could talk. So we waited, and finally the mother came in to get us. Now, we were not having dinner together with the whole family. My sister, my brother-in-law, and I were going into the dining room, and we were going to eat dinner alone. None of the rest of the family was going to eat with us. We go into the dining room. There's no heat. Now it was about 20 degrees outside. No heat. And the only lighting was oil lamps. My sister happened to be wearing my black velveteen dress that day, and she didn't have the jacket on. Black sleeveless dress she was wearing in a dining room with no heat, and I'm telling you, it was cold. This lady had prepared the meal on Saturday. So what we ate was, I don't remember exactly what was served. It was good home-cooked food, but there we were shivering, and the lady served us lemonade with ice in it. You just picture the scene. We're like this, and we're drinking lemonade. We just looked at each other, half grinned, because how can this be happening? We're going to sit here and freeze to death. But they didn't stay in the dining room with us. They went into the parlor where the stove was. And the baby had fallen asleep, so he was okay. And we finished our dinner. Well, the conversation was so lacking, it was a very uncomfortable situation. So we stayed just long enough to be nice about it. And then we told them we had to leave. They didn't have a bathroom anyway, so this was time to leave. So we left, and we went to the house that had the only indoor plumbing. They were at home. And we spent the afternoon there because we were going to have to stay for the evening service at the church and then drive back to Louisville. But the whole story is about my black velveteen dress. One of those dresses that you never forget. It was the dress, the one you felt beautiful in. And I can see my sister now. She could wear the dress. And I can see her now shivering in my black velveteen dress. So that's the little story I wanted to tell. And by the way, this little community was called Defoe, Kentucky. Country community. And that is where my sister got the pimento cheese recipe that I have. One of the ladies in the community had a small cafe where the farmers and local people would go for lunch when they're working. And the lady that owned the little cafe gave the recipe to my sister. My sister, in turn, later gave me the recipe, and I have been making it for 70 years now. So I thought you might enjoy that. I wish I had a picture of me in my black velveteen dress, but no, I didn't have camera in those days. But I'm going to tell you this, I was pretty. There was no doubt about it, because when I looked in the mirror and saw how that dress fit me, I was pretty. So I think that it's okay to say that. You know it's true. We all have a time when we can look in the mirror and say, I look pretty. So this is your story for today. I thought I'd start it off with the winter coming on season. And we haven't had any snow yet, but there was snow that day. Oh, there must have been 12 inches of snow on the ground. So you can imagine our predicament when we didn't have any indoor plumbing. Thank you for watching me. I enjoy having you. And don't forget to order your books from Amazon.